So most Uber and Lyft drivers, well, they assume that the airport is busy just because the apps say so. But honestly, how do you know if it's worth your time today? So how do you know if the airport is worth your time? I know a lot of drivers assume that it's an airport, it's busy, that's where the money's at. Now, it used to be more true than it is, but not every day is just as busy. Not every airport is just as busy. And, well, you have a lot of competition. So how do you know if it's worth your time? Well, I'm going to break down how I use Gridwise to actually let me know if it's going to be busy, if I'm going to get a ride to the airport, and how likely I am to get a ride from the airport. So it is actually Friday. It's like 1:58, right? So I'm going to put a screen recording on here just to kind of give you guys an idea. But what you're going to see right now is the fact that I got the app open. Now I am far away from the airport, and the reason is gas over here, car wash, stuff like that. But Nocatee, this side of Jacksonville, actually gets a lot of rides. The beach side, all that, it's going to get a lot of rides to the airport this time of the day. On a Friday, because Friday is one of those busy days for the airport. Mondays and Fridays are honestly the two busiest days, unless it's during a holiday season, then different days can actually change that. But Friday's the end of the work week, so a lot of people are flying in back home, or they're flying out to go back home. So you always got to remember there's going to be a lot of traffic at the airport on a Friday, and the later it gets, depending on delays and stuff, depending on weather, well, it can actually get pretty busy. But how do you know when you're someone like me and you're starting your shift off and you want to know, well, how am I going to make it to the airport? So you're thinking, all right, start my shift. I'd like to get a ride to the airport, and I would like to get a ride from there because that's good money. It always kind of boosts your earnings, especially on a Friday. So if you start early enough, you have a good chance of getting a ride to the airport. That way you could skip all those people in the waiting lot and actually get a ride from the airport. And it makes it a lot easier. That way you're not wasting time sitting there if you don't have a reservation or if you don't have a private ride lined up. So now, what do you do? How do you know? And if you look at the screen recording, you're going to see how far away I am. I'm right down here, Jacksonville. But Nocatee, Palm Valley, Jacks Beach, all these little areas right there are actually prime locations for people that are going to the airport. They're flying out on business or they're coming home, stuff like that. Jacksonville or Jacks Beach, you got Ponte Vedra, you have the Sawgrass. They have a lot of conferences, a lot of different stuff, but you got a lot of hotels in that area. Nocatee is a big, huge community. Got a lot of people that fly out for work, do a lot of business travel. So these are good areas, or you might snag a ride from St. Augustine since this is right on the St. Augustine line. Well, how do you know if you're more likely going to get that if you're starting off in that area? Because maybe you're like me, hey, the car wash is right here, gas was a little bit cheaper right here, this might be a good spot. Plus I know from past experiences that this is a great location on a Friday. All right, so what I do is I got the screen recording, right? Now you see where I'm at. I tell you, I'm trying to catch a ride to the airport. How likely is that? So we pull up Gridwise. Now when you see Gridwise, it automatically shows your week earnings. It shows all that stuff. So it gives you all that information like right off the bat, which is great. But what you really want is the airport. So you go down here and you click on that little airport icon. Now I'm in Jacksonville. There's only one airport. You do have one over there off Atlantic. There's a little FBO, but that one doesn't pop up, doesn't have a queue. You'll just get a ride here and there if you're in that area. But JAX pops up because I'm in that area. If I get close to Orlando, Daytona, Orlando pop up. Even once I'm in Orlando, Tampa will pop up. It automatically pops up those airports for you, so you don't have to worry about what's the name of that airport, where is it at, which one's close by. It automatically does that for you. So then what you do is you click on that airport, right? So now it gives you this little graph. This graph is actually great for letting you know really quick if it's busy or not. It's not super accurate in a sense of how many people are there, but it lets you have a good idea how many people are supposed to land around those every half hour. If you can see, each line is every half hour. But what you're not looking at is the arrivals. That is good, lets you know, all right, it's gonna be busy for the rest of the day. You got 500. So like I said, Fridays are busy. But what you wanna look at is departures. So now it's 2 o'clock. People are gonna try to get there about 2 hours early, maybe an hour before. You got a lot of traffic. So the last flights flying out are around 9 o'clock. So 7 o'clock's around the time when you might stop getting rides. There is no international flights, so you don't have anybody flying out at 11 o'clock, nothing like that. But you do have a lot of people. You got a few people flying out right now. 308, you got 480, you got all that. So those people right there, well, they're probably at the airport right now because you do have traffic. This is kind of a distance, about 45 minutes to an hour to the airport. But you can see later on, there's a lot. Always good to look at the flight details because it lets you know right here, delayed scheduled. So it lets you know that that flight is delayed and they might have an issue or they might be flying out later. So that kind of pushes that amount of people farther back in the time frame. So you'll know later on, well, it's going to be a little bit busier with departures. So those people might not be leaving right now. If they wanted to, they might hold off. So you might catch them at the last minute once traffic's over, all that. But this is how you know, hey, am I likely to get a ride from the airport? But you also got to check, well, if you do get that ride, how do you know when times are going to actually be busy? All right, so I'm going to stop that screen recording, but I'm going to start another one. But what I'm going to show you is, what do you do? This is how you always start off a shift, especially on a busy day like today. Sometimes you forget, you get busy, you're running late. That's understandable. But if you have time, you try to start off like this. And what it is I looked at the departures, so I know what times people are leaving. The last flights are around 9 o'clock. What you want to look at is at arrivals. So a lot of people are landing right now between 4 o'clock. You got a lot of people landing at 2:30. You always want to look 30 minutes behind because that's the people that have already landed. Those are the people that have their luggage or about to have it. And those are people that are going to be ready to order a ride unless they have a reservation. But you always go to flight details. So that quick graph's great for a quick look to see if it's busy or not. This actually gives you the detailed information, the detailed data that helps you know people have landed, if they're canceled, if they're delayed, if they're en route, all that. Because delayed en route means they're coming, they're just delayed because of weather. Canceled means, well, those people aren't coming. And then landed, those people are there, scheduled, stuff like that. So Uber and them will base off the same data, but they won't tell you how many flights actually canceled. They won't tell you it's not going to be busy till later. They're just going to tell you high earnings, few cars, short wait. But when you get there, there's a lot of cars, there's nobody, no flights landing, and there's a long wait. So this is why using this makes it easier to know, is it actually busy? Because you got to think about it like this. Uber and Lyft have an invested interest in getting you into that queue so that you're standing by waiting for when somebody orders a ride, and they have enough rider or drivers for each tier in case somebody orders it, or they can run a promotion like black and get somebody to order it. That way you have somebody that can fill that order, that ride. But Lyft and them gives you a little bit more detail, so they have an invested interest to keep you in the queue, because Lyft definitely needs you because they want you to be able to fill that order if somebody does it, because they're going to be cheaper. But Gridwise, they do have an invested interest. They are a business. They do want you to pay that subscription for the app. I'm not going to lie about it, but because they have an invested interest in getting you to use the app, they want to provide you with all the tools, all the data that you can use to make informed, smart decisions so you can make the most money. So they don't care if you're sitting at the airport. They don't care if you're waiting in the queue. What they do care about is, you know, if it's going to be busy later or not. They're going to let you know all that data so that you know when and where to work. They don't necessarily care if you actually work. They just want to let you know if you decide to work, well, this is where it's busy, these are the times it's busy, and these are all the people that are landing, all that, so that you have all the data, all the information that you need so that you can make smart decisions, so that you can make the most money during that shift. Because if you just leave it up to Uber and them, well, they don't really care how much money you make. They just care that you fill every order or every trip they send you, whether it wastes your gas, your time or not. Because at the end of the day, all they care about is getting that little bit of fee that they get from each ride, and then making sure that you fill that order and those people keep ordering rides back to back from them. So their invested interest is different than Gridwise. But having tools like this make a huge difference. It makes it easier, especially when you're going to the airport. So now I went over all that. I'm going to go drive around, catch some rides, and kind of give you a glimpse of how I actually used it and how it works, so you can see how using Gridwise helps you with smarter, informed decisions. I got a reserve trip, but I'm going to actually take it because it's a reserve. I might have to wait, but honestly, the pickup is at 2:15, so I'm not even going to make it. I don't know why it would give it to me. That's crazy. All right, so I just showed you guys about how using Gridwise helps you with the airport. Well, I just got a reservation to the airport. Now, it's a reservation. The crazy thing is the pickup time is 2:15, and the last driver canceled on you. And I'm on my way. I'm going to help her out. It was actually like $75 ride, but that was actually reserved. But see, I told you this area, you're going to get a lot of people going to the airport. But now that I got that ride, let's go back and let's see. By the time I get there, going from World Golf Village, we're going to say about an hour. Let's say an hour and a half, just because. Let's see, right? So when I get there to get her, we're going to check Gridwise, and we're going to see, well, how busy is it? So it's 2 o'clock, that's 3:30. It's not that busy, but all these people would have landed. So there's a good chance that I'm gonna get a ride with Black or XL. Now I could turn Comfort on and I could turn Uber X on, so but I dropped her off $74, right? But now you could see it says head to the waiting lot, all that, right? But is it busy right now? That's the main question. So when you look at Gridwise, you look right there and you see, right? They got 440 people that are landing. They had 375, and then they had 240. So then about a little over 600 people landed. In the past hour, they got about 450 landing in the next 30 minutes or so, right? Then you can go back and check details. But when you're kind of driving like this, that's where that graph kind of helps out. Now, I should get a return trip, but I do have XL and I do have Black on, so that could limit me. It's smaller airport, so I don't know how many people ordered Black at this place, but I do have XL on because that's what I took her. But you can see I got Black, I got XL, and that's it. I don't worry about Comfort. I'm not worried about regular Uber either. I'm just doing those tiers. So I could possibly get a return trip. It does kind of limit you. It's easier at bigger airports because you've got 3,000 people like Miami, Orlando. They're going to order Black. They're going to order Premier. They're going to order those tiers. But XL is a pretty popular one. Now, Comfort would be a good one. I could put that on. I might get a ride. But so most drivers, they're going to drive emotionally, right? Especially at an airport. You feel, hey, I already drove up here. I might as well sit. But 20 minutes turns into 30 minutes, turns into 45 minutes, turns into an hour or even longer. Once you sit there for that long, a $20, $30, $40 ride really turns into about half of what it is because of the amount of time you sat there. That's why I always say, if you could catch a ride to the airport, even if you don't always get one on a return trip, at least you're moving, at least you're making money. Because if you don't get one within 10 minutes of dropping somebody off, well, go somewhere else. You might get a return trip back to the airport again, and you could try it again. Trust me, I've left the airport from not getting a ride, got a ride immediately back to the airport. This was in Miami, and the second time, well, I got a nice Premier ride to Ocean Drive out there on South Beach. So it doesn't always happen if you're on the higher tiers, but on the lower tiers, you have a better chance. But those rides that come through aren't always good either. But if you don't get a ride, just go somewhere else. You might get a ride back. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. But sitting in that waiting lot, especially if you got 200 drivers, just is not worth it. So guys, I hope you guys like the content. You see how using Gridwise for airports makes it easier for you to make money. So, you know, you might recognize me from my channel, but I'm gonna be on Gridwise doing content for their channel, breaking stuff down. But if you would like to, subscribe to this channel. That way you can watch and see all the different things that I break down. Is it always necessarily going to be how I use Gridwise or do this? No, a lot of times it's going to be data, different topics, stuff like that. But today I just wanted to show you the real thing, the best reason, and why I've used Gridwise for 2 years now, way before that I did content for them, way before I did content period, and way before I did anything when I first started with Uber. I wanted to show you guys this is the main thing, the main reason why I use Gridwise, why I pay for it, why I even downloaded it, because that airport info is one of the best features, the most helpful features that I've ever been able to find out of any other app that helps you when you're doing Uber and all that. Because tracking your miles, tracking your earnings, that definitely helps. It does good for tax time, but that airport, that information helps you on a daily basis to let you know, hey, am I going to make money at the airport today? Is it worth my time? And that's what you always got to ask yourself. And with Gridwise, well, they can help you do that.